I need to take off the breaking news. I was doing my Spurs channel. I do apologise. And then
How do you follow that in? How do you follow that?
I don't know, but there you go. It's one for me, Philip. Big up to everyone. Welcome to Dermot and Phillip's political rant. We are waiting for our third guest to turn up. He's busy coming back from an Irish game today, so he will be on, and then I'll be dropping off because it is really Philip and Ronan McGreevy show today. Philip, yeah, the best bit of that intro is Putin running around in his karate gear,
Karate outfit, yeah.
Everyone following him. Like, it's so funny. Big up to everyone. Philip, how have you been? We haven't done one of these for a while, so how are you, bud?
Yeah, I'm okay. Watching, there's an awful lot going on at the moment in various fields of the world, and unfortunately, Donald Trump seems to have his finger in most of them. But there's a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about.
Oh, Donald Trump, a gift that keeps giving. He is a man that keeps giving. Look, you're going to talk about Donald Trump with Ronan about the Epstein files and everything's come out. That in the last couple of hours, the number 10 chief advisor to the Prime Minister in England has resigned. So we're going to talk a bit about that. I want to start on Philip, if we can, and probably this is sort of topic that I want to talk about, and then where Ronan comes in, then you talk about the rest, is Iran and the situation in Iran at the moment. There is different stories coming out every day. Look, we all know how the Islamic Republican Guard took over Iran back in 77. Was it 77 or 79? I think it was 79.
79, yeah.
Donald Trump has promised to help the protesters. They haven't. There is an armada, as he puts it, building up. He now wants to talk to them about disarmament and getting rid of their nuclear weapons, which Iran don't want to do that. I mean, is Donald Trump a man that can be trusted, Philip, on Iran? Do you think he has the guts or the gumption to say, right, I'm going in, I'm going to blow the hell out of you? Or do you think he's the kind of man who say, well, if you give me a couple of $100 billion, I'll leave you alone? What do you think he's going to do?
I think it's probably the latter. I think anybody that offers Mr. Trump money tends to get what they're looking for. So I mean, he's now, again, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking Donald Trump, but he is a man who cannot be trusted.
Yes, you are.
He's proven that so many times, with his flip-flopping. I mean, I think Taco is probably the best. Probably the best name they've had for him. Trump always chickens out. The Iran thing is dangerous, though, because if he attacks Iran, he's going to stir the might of China and Russia, who will come in on Iran's side.
Well, apparently Iran, China and Russia don't want to know Iran. They've backed away from it. They've said you're on your own, bud.
How much of an influence has Israel got in this particular thing as well? Because
he is meeting them tomorrow, isn't he? He is meeting Netanyahu tomorrow.
Yeah, someday this week, right? Yeah. But
so
who's giving who the instructions there, though?
Well, Netanyahu's going to tell Trump, I'm going to bomb Iran. Will you back me? And Donald Trump's going to say to him, well, if you do it for me, then I don't have to do it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
True. I don't know, Philip. It's a hard one. Look, we will start with the breaking news. We will go back to Iran. We will start with the breaking news also that McSweeney has resigned from being the chief advisor to Keir Starmer in the UK.
Yeah.
Has that saved his job? I don't think it has, Philip. I think Keir Starmer's still in a very dangerous position where I may think that we could be doing an emergency stream this week on the resignation of another prime minister in the UK.
It's very possible. Whether he resigns or whether he's pushed, that's the question that has to be answered. He's on a very, very sticky wicket at the moment, to use a cricket analogy. His judgment has been proven to be not the best. I mean, okay, he may have, Morgan McSweeney's put his hands up and said it was me that recommended Mandelson for the job in America. So I'm taking the fall for that. But I think that's only going to put a finger in the dike for a few minutes, a few days maybe. But I think the knives are out for Starmer. And but the big question is, there's not an election due in England for 3 or 4 years now. Who replaces him? Can you think of one Labour politician that can move up? I really can't.
Angela Rayner, who resigned, she could go for it. They might put her up for it. The mayor for Manchester, I think he might resign his. Can he run for it?
Oh yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. I said that a lot of these guys are faceless wonders. It's not like the old days in the Labour Party. We had 4 or 5 guys you could mention. Back in the days of
Rayner. I think Angela Rayner would be possibly the choice.
And they've got a tough. Whoever takes on the job has got a tough job in replacing the confidence of the country and the government, which is at an all-time low at the minute. You see Nigel Farage's crowd coming up and been tipped as the next government when you're in trouble. So,
Well, that's my question, Philip, on that. With the local elections this year and European elections next year, I think, how important is it for reform to gain momentum? We do have the Scotland elections and the Welsh elections this year. So how important is it for reform if they want to be in government and if they're saying we're the only change you need for real change, which I don't think they could change they couldn't organise a piston in a brewery, to be fair. They couldn't change a light bulb, but if the British people are pushed to a limit and they say, well, they are the only alternative we have, where does that grow then, Philip? What do they have to prove between now and the next election? Do they have to show growth in the local elections and in probably the elections in Scotland and Wales? Or do you think momentum will bring them there eventually anyway?
I think the local elections will be a yardstick to what a general election result will be like. And I think reform will do very well, which is absolutely a shame, really, because you think Nigel Farage is the MP for Clacton, but he spends more time in Washington than he does in his own constituency, kowtowing to Donald Trump, he's probably looking for the support of Trump in any elections that are coming up, which he'll probably get. So I can see what he's doing. But the thing is Trump, with all that's going on with Trump at the moment, do people want Trump Mark II taking over in the UK? That's another big question. Or will they, mind you, that was a question Americans were asked this time last year, and they jumped at us. They put them straight back in.
Well, does it prove that the British people don't care who's in charge, as long as they feel they're getting a better deal out of it? Then
I think it might prove the British electorate is as stupid as the American one, to be honest.
No, I wouldn't say that, Philip. I look, I get what you're saying. I maybe that's probably a right sentiment to use, but do you think the British electorate at the moment are sort of faced with a government that's not helping them, but there's somebody that will help us for us? Do you know, has it come down to that immigration has become the biggest yardstick in UK politics? Labour are bringing all these immigrants in and we're getting nothing. I heard it last night on the news, on BBC News, Philip. This fella in Wales said they're bringing everyone in and they're giving them houses, they're giving this, which half of it's a load of bullshit anyway, to be fair. A lot of it's fake news narrative. You know that as well as I do, but people are lapping it up.
Of course, they'll believe what they want to believe, and they want to believe that. I mean, the immigration issue is going to be hot on number one of Farage's itinerary. He'd be following his Lord and Master's ideas of getting every immigrant kicked back out to where they've come from, basically, if they're not legal. So, I mean, that's going to be a huge thing. If reform take power, then there'll be an awful lot of people running scared in the UK for their future there, and they may have to go back to the country and will be sent back to the country from which they came. But I don't think it's as big a problem in the UK as it was in America, or as it is in America. But still, Farage is going to follow the Trump the Trump playbook on immigration to the letter.
I agree, Philip. Look, where are you on Donald Trump now? Look, we got the Epstein files. That we'll talk about it. The Epstein files are out. A lot of people have been dragged into it, Philip. A hell of a lot of people. We've got Andrew, formerly known as Prince Andrew. I thought I used the Prince there. Prince, formerly known, whatever is formerly known as Prince. Sorry. Any music people out there do giggle at that one. That was a good one for me. You've got the man who doesn't sweat, which is also Andrew. I still can't believe he came out with that. I don't sweat. Like bullshit, you do. You've got Donald Trump, who's got more sticky fingers than after eating a jam donut. You've got Putin, who's got more files and videos probably on Donald Trump than I've got. Then Tottenham Hotspur have trophies.
Oh yeah,
Um, he's now sending people around America that shouldn't be in America with the ice van. I mean, I'd love to know who he comes up with these names. Ice. I'm going to call this company Ice. Is he losing control of America? And is he thinking, right, my legacy is not going to be America. My legacy is going to be Venezuela, Ukraine and Russia, Iran, China, North Korea. That's where my legacy is. Do you think?
Yeah, but Trump ran on the ticket last year in 2024, America first. Well, it's everybody else first and America last at the moment, the way I can see it.
He's failed on that.
He's failed on it. The thing is, his base, the MAGA base, is so. I'll use the word brainwashed. Maybe that's not the right word to use. But remember when Trump was elected first, he said he could stand in Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and people would still vote for him. That, unfortunately, is still the way with an awful lot of MAGA supporters. Now, I know some of them will have seen the light over the last couple of months with some of the things he's done with the Epstein files, and especially with that horrific video he put about the Obamas the other day. I mean, that should make any decent person run a mile from voting for Donald Trump. It will harm his base, it'll harm his vote, but he will still have a significant vote. But where he's vulnerable is the midterms.
Yeah.
I read that this evening, there was a state Senate vote in some way big Republican state there this weekend that Trump won by 13 points last November. And
who did he bribe?
Around by 23%.
Yeah.
So it's a 36% swing to the Democrats. Anyway, we have our special guest.
Apologies for being late. I couldn't find the link, but anyway, I've got it now. So here I am.
Yeah,
sorry about this, guys.
I am now going to bounce out. I was here as somebody to talk shite for about 14 minutes to the real people the real political dynasty people start talking.
You do that very well, Dermot. You do that very well.
I did. I talk shite very well. I must admit, I'm pro class at talking shite. Just one quick question, Ronan, while we got you here, bud. Did you win today?
We drew 0-0 in probably the worst game of football I've ever been at, which is saying something. It was just dire stuff from both teams. Very defensive, not a lot of quality or a lot of class, but it's the start of the season. These things happen, and I guess it's no worse than Spurs yesterday. So,
yeah,
the less said about that.
Yeah. I want to start you guys off, and then I'm going to. I've got some work to do in the background. Start you guys off. We're going to start off around Philip, if that's okay, and then you can work off your own agenda. What are you hearing, Ronan, on Iran at the moment? What's the latest that you're hearing on the grapevine? What's happening over there? And what do you think Donald Trump will do? Do you think he might stick and play it safe? Or do you think he'll do another Venezuela? And so, do you know what? That went so well. I'm going for that option again. Please,
it's a good. Well, you see, Iran is not another Venezuela, and that's the thing. I mean, you have the revolutionary guards there who are loyal to the regime, if nothing else, because their futures depend upon it, and because if the regime there ever falls, they'll be the first in line for a lynching. I think. I think there's a lot of saber rattling going on. I mean, the thing about for Trump is he's not interested in regime change for the sake of the people of Iran. He's more interested in terms of the nuclear deal and the relationship between Iran and Israel. So I know that this carrier group is still steaming towards Iran. I would like to see the overthrow of this regime. I can't imagine it being any worse for the people of Iran than what they have to put up with at the moment, which is absolutely dire. And I just think that I don't know what the outcome is going to be. In terms of whether or not he's going to strike against Iran. He certainly's got the ability to do it, and the ability of the Iranians to deal with assaults from the air is quite limited, actually, as we've seen when the Iranians took out their their air defenses before Christmas. So they're. Can I ask you guys? Is he still there? Is Dermot still there?
Yeah, he's still in the background. Yeah, Dermot.
Can you hear
He
me?
will be there. He's just probably gone off to get a cup of
I
tea.
can't hear you.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Ronan?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
No,
Oh, hang on. I'll text Dermot here. Hold on a second then.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
Can you? No.
I'll just text him there now to see will he come in. Strange. I could hear you clearly. Will I just check the? Hold on a second. Now.
I'm on the phone. Hello. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm going to
Yeah.
log on. I'm going to log off and come back in. all
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Okay.
Just give me 1 minute.
Yep. Sorry about this, folks. It's a bit of a technical issue here. That I can hear Ronan, but he can't hear me. So we'll just keep going. He's going to come back in now in a second. Anyway, as he was saying about Iran be in favor of a regime change, I think that's all very good. But who's going to come next? Who's going to come after them? Is it going to be more of the same, or do they go back to the days of the Shah again, which was got rid of in 1979, so I think 50 years ago? So we'll have to wait and see on that one. And I think Israel are going to have a lot to say as what happens in Iran, because they seem to be the main protagonists with them. And Donald Trump is meeting up with Netanyahu during the week, as far as I know, to see what happens. I'll have to wait and see on that one. And it looks to me as if there's going to be a regime change, can they do a bloodless one? Or is it going to be Venezuela, but a lot more violent than the Venezuela situation that took place about a month ago? Anyway, we'll see what happens on that one. Now, staying with the US, the Epstein files, or the portions that have actually been released, have caused an awful lot of political upheaval in a number of countries. I mean, we've got the situation starting with the prince formerly known as Andrew, or Andrew formerly known as a prince, who's now been busted back down to a commoner. You've got the likes of Peter Mandelson, who's having already been stripped of the US ambassadorship, has now resigned from the House of Lords. You've got Morgan McSweeney, who is the Irish guy who was the main advisor to Keir Starmer, has fallen on his sword over the advice that he gave Keir Starmer for to take Mandelson on as the ambassador to the US last year. So that's been done as a kind of a roadblock to stop Starmer getting the push. But can you honestly see him surviving? If there's a vote of confidence in him from the Labour MPs, I think he'll lose that. And I suppose the next question is who actually takes over from him, because I don't think the candidates are they're not actually jumping up and down saying me. And the only company I think is going to benefit from the political party is Keir Starmer. Not Keir Starmer.
I agree with you. I agree. So Morgan McSweeney is gone this evening, which may take the heat out of it for the time being. But this is a totally self-inflicted wound on the part of Keir Starmer. It's not as if he didn't know Mandelson's track record. He knew that Mandelson was friendly with Epstein. A lot of the stuff, I mean, okay, the scale of the duplicity that Mandelson was engaged in, that only came out this week. But prior to that, there was a great deal of knowledge about his relationship, and there was incriminating emails in the past about this. And I guess Keir Starmer's thinking behind the appointment of Mandelson is that Mandelson is precisely the type of rogue that could get the right side of Donald Trump, that you needed somebody who's practicing the dark arts and is good at flattery and all the rest. And I guess Mandelson is that figure. But to me, what all of this says to me is that people do not take pedophilia seriously enough. It's as simple as that. I mean, being acquainted, the thing about it is that, to be that closely associated with a pedophile, and then to be given the plum job in American or in British diplomacy, to me, is just shows a lack of moral clarity as to what's going on here. If you are palling around with a convicted pedophile, and this was a matter of record, because of course Epstein was jailed in 2008 and 2009. Now we know, for instance, that Mandelson was staying in his apartment in 2012, and we knew before all of this that he was still hanging around with Mandelson even after Mandelson's conviction in 2008. So I just don't get it. I just think I just think morally he shouldn't have touched Mandelson with a barge pole in the first place, but so he's kind of whatever you think about him, he does have a reputation for being one of the good guys in politics, but I think his reputation has been emoliated as a result of this. I really do. I just think it's and you wouldn't mind if he was a popular figure, but he appears from opinion polls and so on to be somebody who's not who just like, he has very little in the way of political capital left, and I think the next scandal will topple him, because a lot of people are not very happy with his stewardship of the Labour Party. He just doesn't seem to be able to meet or to articulate the challenges that Britain face, and they're pretty dire at the moment.
True. But do you not think that the Epstein files is essentially an American problem? But it seems to be causing problems nearly everywhere else but America at the moment.
Well, this is true, yeah. But I don't think it's just an American problem. If you think about the fact that in this country as well, you have there's an awful lot of stuff is coming out at the moment, and some of it has not really been, to me, properly interrogated yet in Ireland. We had a brilliant piece in the Belfast Telegraph yesterday by Sam McBride talking about the manner in which Paul Tweed, the libel solicitor, tried to basically bully the British media into not calling Jeffrey Epstein a paedophile, even after his conviction in 2008, on the basis that the offences for which he pleaded guilty in a notorious plea bargain was trafficking underage girls for sex. I mean, that in itself should make people run a million miles away from him. There's also the fact that Epstein, being the vulture that he was, the financial vulture that he was, tried to get involved in buying distress assets from Aer Lingus, or from AIB in 2010, and he was trying to enlist the help of Mandelson, who was then the British trade secretary, I think he was, or business secretary at that time. Again, that hasn't really come out in the
No.
papers. And then there's also the role that Dennis Desmond plays in these, which nobody has spoken about, which is the fact that Dennis Desmond was involved in a business scheme to buy up distressed golf courses. This is in the aftermath of the crash. And that Dennis Desmond was going to put up some of the money, and Epstein was going to put up the rest. So, I mean, the tentacles of this story, it's not just an American story, although it is predominantly American story. This is about the abuse of power, corruption, and an absolute massive slew of people who should have known better, who are tainted by their association with him. Now, the last thing I would say, of course, is that the biggest casualty from an Irish point of view has been George Mitchell, the chairman of the Good Friday Agreement talks. His name has been removed. His statue has been removed from Queen's University Belfast on the basis that there was a number of emails sent to Epstein in 2010 and 2011. Now, it's important to state that George Mitchell has protested his innocence here. He has said that just because Epstein has sent him emails doesn't mean that he ever responded to him. He had very little to do with him. There was also an allegation that he had sex with Virginia Jeffries, the poor woman who was the whistleblower and all of this and who died. He says that's a case of mistaken identity, that that she was obviously thinking about somebody else. So we will have to see how this one plays out. But it just seems to be so many countries in the world. Israel's another one who's mixed up with this, as is Russia. So we'll just have to see where this goes, Philip.
Yeah, would it not be a big help if the likes of Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem and Kash Patel would have a moment, their Damascus moment, road to Damascus moment, and actually come clean, because they're obviously covering for a number of people by not releasing the redacted version of this report. I mean, there's report now that Donald Trump's name is in it over 3,000 times, and yet there's nothing happening. It's just been stonewalled.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right, and he says he's gotten away with it this time. I find it flabbergasting. Even though there was an act of Congress which said everything had to be put out in the open, they're still withholding stuff on the spurious basis that it might prejudice possible criminal cases, and that they didn't want to publish stuff that pictures and stuff like that showed violence or sexual assault. So I mean, these people are not, the likes of Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are not principled people. They're not doing this because they really care about the victims. They're doing this to protect their ass, and it's really pathetic. It's absolutely awful. And it looks again as if Trump has got away with it.
Well, I'd say that two things can happen here. One, I believe tonight the victims of the Epstein abuse are taking out ads during the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
to try and bring attention back to people. And there's such an audience watching that. But do you not also feel that next November in the midterms, like there's strong rumors that the House will go back to the Democrats.
Yeah.
And there's even talk now the Senate might be swung because of the public opinion is shifting just enough to get that done. If that happens, surely then, when the boot is on the other foot, action can be taken against not just Donald Trump, but
his underlings, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's already proposals to impeach what's her name, Kristi Noem and Kash Patel, etc. But it can't go anywhere because the Republicans still rule, still have the House of the House of Representatives. The reason they have the Senate is ridiculous, really. It's because you've got a situation where a state like California, which is 40 million people, has the same amount of representatives as a state like Wyoming, which has 500,000 people. I suppose that's the way that the U.S. Constitution was set up, but the reality is that the Senate is biased, is an unrepresentative body, because most of the very small states are Republican in nature, and they return 2 Republican senators. So we'll have to see. But if both houses were to flip, it would be game on, absolutely, and whoever was there would have to release all the files, and publish and be damned, is what I say.
I think there's an interesting situation arising. I read somewhere earlier today that Mitch McConnell is very seriously ill in hospital.
Yeah,
and that he either dies or resigns or whatever, because he's from a Democrat state. The Democrat governor can appoint an interim senator to the next election, and that would be a Democrat in the Senate, which would make things really interesting. So that one's one to watch out for, I think, over the next few days. Apparently, Mitch McConnell is not a well man at the moment. So, no.
Well, I mean, he's one of these gentocracy. I mean, I don't know what ages he is. He's well into his
80 plus anyway. He's 80 plus.
Like, why are these politicians still around? It doesn't happen in other countries. You know, you don't get people that old in politics in Europe, anywhere. I mean, it's ridiculous that he's still in the position that he is. And I mean, America is a gentocracy when you think about the fact that, you've had two presidents in their late 70s. You had the likes of Nancy Pelosi, who's a huge age as well. I know she's gone now, but I mean, and of course there's the venerable evergreen Bernie Sanders. So these guys got to get off the stage, they just got to get off the stage at this stage. But anyway, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
America's in a dire strait, as we
We're
well know.
going to move on to Ukraine now. Briefly discussion about Ukraine. I'm going to come back to America after this to discuss the infamous video about the Obamas. But Ukraine seems to have not taken a back seat, but there's certainly not as much news coming out of Ukraine as there used to be. Do you feel that Zelensky has been backed into a corner here, that he has to submit some land, to give some land to Russia to finish off this war?
Even if so, essentially, what has happened is that the Russians are encamped in 4 Ukrainian oblasts, and what Putin is demanding is the rest of the Donbass, which is approximately 20% of what's left. But for those the cities in question are 4 fortress cities, the size of Galway, each of them, which are, and if they were given over to Russia, essentially, there's nothing to stop the Russians just, consolidating there and moving forward. The other thing is as well is that Zelensky has said that he will that whatever peace deal is agreed upon will have to be put to the Ukrainian people as a whole, and I just can't see Ukrainian people handing over this territory. I mean, it's never like the Ukrainians will never agree to this being sovereign Russian territory. They may decide to fudge it or whatever. I mean, the Ukrainians also want, even if they were to hand over this territory, it would be on the basis that there would have to be a referendum, in those 4 oblasts, and again, the people in those oblasts are not going to side with Russia in a fair referendum. They just aren't. I mean, if you look at the results of the original poll for independence back in the 1990s, every part of Ukraine, with the exception of Crimea, voted overwhelmingly for independence. They're not going back there. So, I guess the thing is for Ukraine is, how long can they hold out? The Russians have used the coldest winter that the Ukrainians have had since the start of the war to systematically destroy their infrastructure, and it is really having a dire impact on public morale in Ukraine. But spring is coming, and if they can hold out, who knows what the spring will bring. But it's a very sad situation that the Ukrainians find themselves in, and I mean, this is the 4th anniversary of the war coming up now.
One thing Dermot and myself were discussing earlier today about this, we're kind of similarities between the situation that Michael Collins found himself back in 1921.
Yeah.
He's damned if he did and damned if he didn't, really.
Yeah.
The situation in we had a so-called referendum on the treaty, and it passed, which is unlikely to happen in Ukraine. But there are some similarities there, aren't there? Really, like Zelensky would be a pariah with a lot of people if that land was eventually ceded to Russia.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, you're right. And the most interesting thing, and this is why I think the Ukrainians should never give up that territory, no matter what happens, is because, as we've seen from the treaty in 1921, there was a presumption that the North will eventually become part of a united Ireland in short order, and it hasn't happened. And this is what the thing is: you give away territory on a temporary basis, and it's gone forever. And that's why I think that I just can't see the Ukrainians. It's a fight to the death here. It's a war of attrition. Whoever holds out the longest is going to prevail in this situation, because the way it is at the moment is that the Ukrainians have made it clear they're not giving up territory. The Russians have made it clear that they're not giving up the territory they already occupy. There's no way out of this at the moment, No way out of this.
It is a terrible situation for the Ukraine, especially as you mentioned, the coldest winter in years, and no heat, no electricity. And then again, spring, as you said, spring is coming. Maybe if they can hold out for another few weeks, that things may improve a little bit over there.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
talking about in another few weeks, we've got St. Patrick's Day,
yeah,
the famous visit to the White House. Do you
yeah.
agree with Micheál Martin's agreement to accept the
Yes,
invitation this year?
yes. I think he did very well last year. Um, Unless, for instance, there's this black swan event in the next month or so, like an invasion of Greenland. I don't think it's going to happen. There's no point in not going. Grandstanding will. There's nothing to be won from grandstanding. I think he will go. He acquitted himself very well last year. He just let Trump rabbit on, whatever he's going to say, and like that's Trump's not going to be in power forever. But if we lose this opportunity this time round, you could well get to a stage where not only do you not get invited for the last 2 years of Trump, but if, for instance, the likes of, J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio was to become the next president, they might say, "Well, you snub Donald Trump, you're not getting in here either."
Yeah.
So I think we don't to paraphrase Trump, we don't hold the cards here, right? We can flounce off to our heart's content, and it might make us feel good for a day or two, but it's not going to change the way Donald Trump does things. It's not going to increase our estimation in the rest of the world. So this is what used to be like the highlight of the year for every Taoiseach is now going to be like a trial for the next 3 years, and they just got to get through it.
I suppose it's actually good this year that he's actually getting in on St. Patrick's Day, and unlike Conor McGregor. Remember last year when Micheál was there 2 years earlier, and that was a
Yeah,
bit,
that was.
to be
Yeah.
honest. But obviously, that's not going to happen again this year. So yeah, I think you're
No.
right. Actually, though, we have to look to the future. We can't just take the what's going on at the moment. It's a long term picture has to be looked at, and
Yeah.
losing the influence of getting into the White House would be a serious blow to the country.
But as so many people have pointed out, it's not just about the White House. It's the dinner on. It's the lunch on the Hill. It's the networking that goes
Yeah,
on. It's the soft power, which is all we really have with American lawmakers. It's an absolutely, uh, it's our one opportunity. As people say, we're the only country in the entire world that's guaranteed a trip to the White House every year.
yeah.
And I just think that Micheál Martin should just shut out the usual suspects bleating about this. Just do it. Go. Don't let the side down. I don't think he will, and live to fight another day.
I think the first thing he says to Donald when he gets to White House, I saw the film, Melania's film. It was brilliant. Anyway, that's another day. But just move. I mean, I know it's so hard to keep away from Trump, but I mean, what did you make of the video he put up about the Obama and the apes?
Um, it's just, it's absolutely. I mean, the debasement of American political culture that this guy does day after day after day just never ends. Now he claims that what he hadn't even watched the end of the video, that it was a video about the 2020 election, which of course he claims is stolen without any evidence. But why is he still going on about this? I mean, he's basically using this truth social thing that he is at night just to spew out whatever nonsense comes into his head, and like he, it doesn't really, whether you like him or not, it doesn't really matter. The fact is, like, I just I don't think the man is well in the head. And the terrifying thing is we still have 3 years of this to go, 3 years of this endless bloody circus. And I don't know what's going to happen. Um, I mean, I see, for instance, that the ancient order of Hibernians have who are quite a conservative organization, have distanced themselves from Trump and said that the use of the ape trope is something that trope is it was used against the Irish at one stage.
Yeah.
So when you get kind of like people who you think might be in his base, and they're disgusted by all of this, then you have to say, you know, maybe even his supporters are just sick of this at this stage. You know, just sick of sick of this endless circus. But I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see.
Well, two things that come out there. I'm reading the governor of Pennsylvania was talking about this attempt to regionalize or take over the elections. And he says, well, after the 2020 election, he came after us in 43 court cases to try and prove the election in Pennsylvania was rigged, and he lost every one of them. So I mean that should be enough to any normal person to say, listen, I'll back off.
He did not win a single court challenge to the 2020 election. He did not win a single court challenge. You know, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But look, you know, the Americans voted for him. They know all of this. They knew all of this after January the 6th. They knew there was no evidence of that election being rigged, and they still voted for him again. And I just, you know, they've got the president they deserve. I'm sorry to say it, but they just have, you know, and it's just God help the rest of us.
But he had every chance to back down and take back that video thing. He didn't. He said it was disgusting video, but he didn't apologize. And then I saw a Truth Social post today. Now, I have a feeling this one mightn't be genuine. This might have been put up by somebody, where he came up with the apes were very annoyed to be compared to the Obamas.
I forgot. Yeah, like it's you know, it'd be funny if it weren't so tragic. Do you know what I mean? It just would be. I mean, there's nothing funny or anything else about it. And he's basically a man child. Like, I've seen toddlers with a greater sense of. I genuinely have seen toddlers with a greater sense of right and wrong than him. You know, and. Like, he just spends his whole time on Truth Social just spewing nonsense all day long. But look, you know, he's only a man if his own party were, you know, they have the wherewithal to impeach him. Of course, they won't do it. But, you know, this is what we're stuck with, Philip.
I think too. I think a lot of the Obama thing goes down to jealousy. The fact that Obama got the Nobel Prize, which, as we know, is Trump's ultimate aim, is to get that. And see where he had to spat at Poland there during the week because
so the speaker of the
so he wouldn't recommend him for a Nobel Prize, and now he's got the knife into Poland.
Well, actually, it was the ambassador of Poland who wrote to him saying that it was a sickening way to treat your allies. So, I mean, this is why, you know, Trump is what he is. But the reality is that there are far too many people out there who are willing to do his bidding. You know, and it was the U.S. ambassador to Poland, who was obviously a political appointee. He's not a diplomat, who came out with this nonsense, you know, saying, how could you insult the U.S. president? And, like, I mean, what kind of a world do we live in, you know, where ambassadors, where if you don't acquiesce in giving the U.S. president, if you don't say, no, I don't think he deserves it, that somehow it's a diplomatic incident. You know, I mean, I
think there's a terrible hypocrisy as well. You see that the EU has taken TikTok to court, you know, for some of and America's accusing them of stifling free speech. And then you've got over in America, a journalist being arrested for exactly the same thing.
Absolutely, 100%.
The man in question.
Yeah.
Grammys.
I mean, this is not about free speech. It's not about free speech. This is about the fact, and I think the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is playing a blinder of this. He said, this is a situation where tech oligarchs or oligarchs or whatever you want to call them actually think that they are completely unaccountable. We're talking in particular about Elon Musk here. They think that they have a right to spew whatever nonsense it is, to hijack whatever algorithm it is to spread falsehoods. And he's saying no. And this is where the Americans have got it wrong. Free speech is not absolute. It never has been. You know, you don't go into a cinema and shout fire, fire, fire,
Yeah,
and get away with it. Like, of course, the interesting thing about TikTok is not an American company. He can't turn around and say that this is a form of anti-Americanism, because it's not. TikTok is a Chinese company. So, um, I would hope, with what Pedro Sanchez has said about Twitter and making Twitter accountable for the nonsense that's on that channel, on that social media account, that it might be the start of something, because we can't go on the way we're going on with social media. It's tearing the world apart, and it's rotting the brains of teenagers. I have two myself. I can see it. And I just think, you know, something's got to be done, and the European Union has got to stand against this sort of bullying, you know?
And then you've got Jeff Bezos, who's gutting the Washington Post. You know, that's a terrible attack on journalism, really. You know, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's about that.
I've seen it. It's an absolutely sickening thing that he's done. The interesting thing is that when Bezos took over the Washington Post in 2013, he was actually a very good owner, and he invested in the newspaper and all the rest. There's no reason for this other than he's trying to curry favor with with Trump in relation to his space adventures, etc. He wants to get government contracts. Like, he could argue, for instance, that the Washington Post isn't making a huge amount of money, but like, it never was. Why you don't buy newspapers anymore to make money, you know? And what he's done is it's absolutely unforgivable. And again, it's down to the enablers. Trump is where he's at because people enable him, and you saw the sickening spectacle of Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all the rest of these guys at his inauguration last year. You know, it's just, I don't get it. I'm sorry, I just don't get it, you know?
Oh, it's an ongoing situation. Well, listen, we're going to call it a night there. And I'm Ronan, apologies, I didn't introduce you properly when you came in there. Delighted you came on. This is Ronan McGreevy, who is an Irish Times journalist and historian. And Ronan will be bringing out a new book, I think in March, which is concerned with Sean Lemass, the former Irish Taoiseach, who was
the best Taoiseach we ever had,
brought Ireland into the 20th century's big time. And so that book is coming out in March, so look out for that. Ronan, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
And apologies to your viewers for being late to the podcast, but it's always a pleasure. Anytime.
Sure, we'll see you. So we'll do another one of these in probably a week's time or so. So we'll be in contact.
Yeah. And, okay, Philip. Thanks a million.
Good night.
Bye now.
Right, folks. That's it. We'll be back in another week. It'll be Dermot, Ronan, and myself. We'll be looking at current affairs, seeing what's happening in the world, and we're going to come back to you probably around this day week. Keep an eye out for it. And until then, good night.